After 42 years, the Skywalker saga ended with Ben Solo's redemption and sacrifice.
So falls the last Skywalker.
But Star Wars loves closing doors and cracking windows. Return of the Jedi gave us the fairy tale finish, then George spun the clock back and showed us how a kid from Tatooine became Vader. And Disney jumped us 30 years past Endor to pass the torch.
That lightsaber, it belongs to me.
Now we're 5 years after Exegol, and Star Wars Starfighter might be the first film to carry the Skywalker legacy forward without recasting Luke or breaking canon. There's talk of a Mara-coded character, basically Mara Jade, Luke's partner in Legends, and a Force-sensitive kid under a pilot's protection. If that's legit, Starfighter could continue the Skywalker name in a story-first way.
Peace and purpose. I felt it too.
By the end of this video, I'll show you how the timeline lines up and the one decision that flips Luke's post-Jedi choices from retreat to protection. What if the Skywalker mantle returns, not as a cameo, but a living line that the new Jedi can build around? And if it does, what does that mean for the next era of movies?
The destiny of a Jedi. Your destiny.
If you're into theories that line up with canon and get the blood pumping, drop a like and hit subscribe. Now, let's get into it. Alright, so after Return of the Jedi wrapped things up, Empire crushed, Vader redeemed, Anakin pulled back to the light to save his son while Leia lived to lead. The saga didn't move forward like most franchises. Instead, George rolled the clock back and showed us how a once hopeful kid on Tatooine went on to become one of the galaxy's greatest villains, laying track that lands 19 years later in what we'd call A New Hope.
Where are those transmissions you intercept? What have you done with those plans?
Fast forward to the Disney era and the compass completely flips the other way. They jump 30 years past the Battle of Endor, they bring the OT characters back, this time as anchors, as they hand over the wheel to a new generation. The twist is, though, for the first time, none of the main protagonists were blood Skywalkers. Luke and Leia shift into supporting roles, and Kylo Ren, Vader's grandson, chases his grandfather's shadow under the First Order. The losses stack, handfuls, Luke burns himself out to save the Resistance. Leia spends her last strength reaching her son, and Ben Solo returns to the light just in time to give his life for Rey. On paper, that's the curtain call for the bloodline, but as we've come to learn, Star Wars never leaves a door without a draft. We're now 5 years later in the timeline, and Star Wars Starfighter looks like the first honest shot at continuing the Skywalker thread without breaking what came before. Now, it's said to be a fresh story with mostly new faces, mostly being the key word there. Fans zeroed in on Amy Adams' role instantly because of how much she echoes Mara Jade from Legends, Luke's partner and a major bridge character in the Thrawn era novels. Now, in this film, Adams' character is said to be the mother of a boy who co-leads alongside Ryan Gosling's ace pilot character. Now, both Mum and the kid, who's played by Finn Gray, are reportedly both Force-sensitive. Gosling isn't. His dynamic reads more like a protective uncle, which sets up a classic Star Wars courier tale. She trusts him to get the boy from point A to point B while the villains close in.
She needs you, Obi-Wan. We can't trust anyone else.
And yeah, the relationship math here is pretty interesting. If he feels like an uncle, you'd assume a sibling link to the mother, but Gosling's on-set look screams smuggler, very much giving off the Han Solo vibes.
Kid, I've flown from one side of this galaxy to the other. I've seen a lot of strange stuff.
Which leans me more toward a found family angle rather than blood ties. That also explains why he's the one doing the escorting. Not because he can wield the Force, but because he knows how to disappear in plain sight, how to slip a blockade and live off the grid when it counts. And with reports that Rey appears in some capacity, the clean read is that the destination isn't random heroics, it's the start of something Jedi-shaped.
1,000 generations live in you now.
And yeah, this is the question that really hooks me. If the whole mission is about moving this kid safely across the galaxy, then who wants him stopped, and why this boy now? And that's where the tension lives. A protective pilot, a force-wielding mother and son, and a finish line that likely involves Rey doesn't just tease cameos. It's a classic run and protect setup. Every time they jump, the odds of someone covering whatever their secret is go up. And yeah, if this reads the way it looks right now, the ripple effect isn't just on Starfire, it hits the whole timeline. Bringing in a Mara-type figure, even as a reinterpretation rather than a true one-to-one, would quietly rewrite the lane Luke's been in since The Last Jedi. Legends gave us a Skywalker future overflowing with possibilities. Canon narrowed Luke into a monk-like path, clinging to the old rules on attachment. But fold a mother and child into the post-Endor years and suddenly his exile doesn't have to be cowardice, it can be strategy. You see, if you take the most powerful Jedi off the board, you also remove a target off the back of those that were tied to him. We've seen Luke think like this before as well. On Endor, he realizes his presence endangers the mission.
I'm endangering the mission. I shouldn't have come.
And walks straight into the Emperor's throne room to give his friends a better shot at pulling it off. And that's where it gets interesting, because if the mother echoes Mara and the boy is the cargo that everyone wants, the Skywalker thread doesn't need a de-aged cameo to continue, it needs a reason. What if Luke chose distance to protect a family rather than to end a legacy? And the cost of that choice is only surfacing now.
The most unfindable place in the galaxy for no reason at all.
That reframes years of canon in a way that actually adds empathy back to his arc, and there's a bigger swing here too. If the kid under protection really does carry that famous Skywalker blood, then you got a clean way of restarting a Skywalker story on the big screen without trampling on what's come before. So we could get new stories without a fixed endpoint, a hero the next generation can latch onto, the way earlier fans latched onto Anakin or Luke, and a path for Rey that isn't starting from zero.
I need someone to show me my place in all this.
If word gets out about who he is, how long before every bounty puck carries his face? That's the emotional cost that makes every jump feel dangerous, not just for the mission, but for what the name Skywalker is allowed to mean going forward. And so yeah, this is where it all really clicks. If Lucasfilm wants to add depth to Luke's story without recasting or heavy de-aging, Star Wars Starfighter is the most natural lane. You aren't asking casual moviegoers to chase a Disney Plus detour, you're letting the feature film do the heavy lifting. Wrap the past neatly while actually introducing something new that can carry us forward. And that for me is the sweet spot, a continuation that moves past what's been done rather than rewriting it from scratch. Now, officially, Starfire is a standalone. Timeline-wise, the next stop after it is the new Jedi Order movie, which, no surprises, is about rebuilding the Jedi.
How do we build the rebellion from this?
We have everything we need.
Now, if both land, they're positioned as potential launch pads, but the cleanest version, it has to be that Starfire sets the pieces and delivers its payload. New Jedi Order picks up the thread and builds the house. And if our read is right, then Gosling's role is to deliver. And if the boy he's protecting carries a name that matters, handing him to Rey isn't just a feel-good ending, it's a mission statement for where the saga goes next. And so would that make Rey a founder of a new era or a caretaker of a legacy that's bigger than her? Let me know what you think. But yeah, there's also world logic back into this as well. Rey doesn't have to start from zero. Fragments of Luke's academy survived off-world when it fell. That lets her rebuild what Luke actually begun rather than kind of reinventing the wheel. And the age math lines up a little bit too well to ignore. A mother in her 50s at this point in the timeline fits a Mara-style character perfectly. And Luke would have just about been pushing 60 if he was still around at this point in time.
Master Skywalker.
What are you doing?
And a 14-year-old kid is young enough to have missed the academy when it burned. Plenty of reason for mother and son to have survived in the margins. If the story plants a single careful seed in the Mando era, like a name, a symbol, a rumor, Starfire can be the moment everything snaps into focus. And that's why this path feels elegant. It gives Luke's absence meaning. It gives Rey something to build around, and it gives audiences a Skywalker that points forward instead of back. If Lucasfilm plays it this way, you don't just get a clever twist, you get a roadmap. The only question left is whether they're prepared to commit to the long game with it. Because you see, George built Star Wars around the Skywalkers. Disney, for the most part, has tried its best to peel away from them. The first and only trilogy under the banner is the only one where the main hero isn't a Skywalker by blood. For 2 films, Rey's a nobody, then she's a Palpatine, and look. Star Wars has proven it can thrive outside one family, The Mandalorian, Andor, all of it. But nothing stirs the hive quite like a Skywalker hitting the screen.
I'll show you the dark side.
Kylo Ren became the breakout of the sequels, and it just came out that Disney scrapped a Ben Solo movie set after the rise of Skywalker, and Star Wars fans everywhere are going crazy about it right now. And like the year between The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi was fueled by the promise of Luke's full return. Then his arrival in The Mandalorian Season 2 is still the series' peak for a lot of fans. And Obi-Wan Kenobi turned the internet inside out by centering a Skywalker confrontation again.
Anakin's gone. I am what remains.
So when you're Lucasfilm and you're staring at a clean narrative lane in Starfire, why wouldn't you reach for that spark? The question is, how do you do it without repeating the past? Do you bring back the name to move the story forward? or drag the story back to protect the name. If Starfire's setup lets a genuine Skywalker presence grow without cameos or canon acrobatics, that's a win. It gives Rey something real to build the future around and lets the legacy function as motivation, not a museum piece. And here's the real tension: if a new Skywalker steps into the light, does that unite the galaxy behind a new symbol, or paint a target on their back the second the secret's out? And yeah, there's also the emotional build to consider with it too. Fans who struggled with Luke's arc in the sequels might finally get a reading that makes his choices feel protective rather than cynical.
I was wrong. It was fear that kept me here.
But if Lucasfilm fumbles and it plays like nostalgia fishing, do we end up totally sour in both eras at once? Or best case, is this the moment that the franchise finally stops arguing with the past and uses it to power what's coming next? Either way, Starfighter has the rare opportunity to allow the Skywalker name to mean the future again. But anyways, I'm down for this path myself. Star Wars has proven it can stand tall without Skywalker front and center.
So falls the last Skywalker.
The Mandalorian, Andor, all of it. So I don't want that lane to disappear. But it doesn't have to be either or. We can continue to tell new corners of the galaxy, and at the same time let the Skywalker thread point forward again. And so if Starfighter quietly continues that line, especially if it ties back to Luke, the guy who stared down Vader and the Emperor, there's a real chance to bottle up a bit of that early Force Awakens energy without just replaying the hits. And with the Mandalorian and Grogu up next, the seeds for a return could start there, then pay off when Starfighter hits the big screen. And what's crazy is how much interest there is around this film so far without even a trailer, just a few set photos. One of which even feels like a subtle nod to the classic Force Awakens table read image. And honestly, that's kind of what makes it all so exciting. Either way, I'm ready for the next chapter. Get the new stories thriving, bring the legacy back with purpose, and give us a future the name Skywalker can actually live in.
The destiny of a Jedi. Your destiny.
For now, it's set photos and whispers. The real push is way off at this point, but the momentum's already starting to build. So if a Mara-type character is coming, does it change how you see Luke's exile? As always, drop your thoughts, theories, and wilder speculations down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out our latest Mandalorian and Grogu theory, where we get into the trailer potentially showing us Thrawn's first attack on the New Republic, which is pretty wild. Anyways, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. Thanks for watching, I'll see you in the next one, and may the Force be with you.